Hello and welcome back to Rev Endurance Sports and another edition of Weekend Wrap. This is usually where on a Monday or something I may talk about what went down over the weekend. Things I learned, things I want to share with you, or maybe even some comments from some of the videos that I had posted. So the headline news is Barbara, Jess, and myself on Saturday morning, cold morning, 37 degrees just before we rolled out. And we went out for 150 miles, and Jess has not been getting as many miles as she would like. She works, and my schedule is a lot more flexible, and Barbara's retired. So we went north, and it was almost an exact out and back course. So we were able to have Jess pull off while Barbara and I continued northbound, made the turnaround and headed back, and then picked her up on the way back. So Barbara and I got 150 as was planned, and Jess got 128. So a very good day on the bike for her as well. And a couple of things. So the first thing was I was demoing the Velotoes for the first time on that ride. And there was a lot of comments about people thinking that they were too rubbery, and there was a different type of booty that they would wear. Some other folks were talking about how fragile these might have been in the past. I guess their first iteration. This is the 2.0 for the tall road, as they call it. And I don't find them that fragile, but then again, I always just take care of my stuff because I don't like to buy stuff over and over. If I've already curated the correct and the right thing, I want to be able to keep it for a long time. So in this case, these feel fine when I'm wearing them. They don't feel too rubbery. They're a little. It's funny because it's a little harder to take them off than to actually put them on. So some care and feeding instructions that I got from some of the other folks. One gentleman commented that he cares for them just like latex tubes, which obviously makes sense. They're made out of latex. So, he cleans them, and then he puts some talc or, baby powder, whatever you want to call it, and then puts them away. And he said, well, that might trash your shoes, but I think it's probably a good thing because, being latex, it's a little sticky as you're trying to put it on. So maybe the talc would be a good thing to have on your Velotoes. As far as warmth, my feet were warm. It was a dry day, so I didn't test the waterproofness of it, but I'm sure that would be fine as well. The tight cuff up on the shin and the calf was the one thing I was really looking for. Got that. And then as the day warmed up, so it went from 37 to mid 60s and then back down very quick. Like around 1 o'clock, it starts just dropping quick. And by 4 o'clock, you're pretty chilled because you've been burning calories all day long. And oh, by the way, I did it as a no-no ride, so that means no stops for no reason. Obviously, we had traffic control, so, we get some smart asses out there. Oh, did you stop for... Yeah, we stopped for traffic controls. Don't be silly. But other than that, so no bathroom stops, no stops for refueling, no stops for getting more water, more food, more anything, just pedals turning. Barb took a nature break. And of course, since Jess pulled off and then allowed us to keep going, she had coffee and had her nature break and then rejoined us. And boy, was I glad by the time we caught up to her again, because I had a rough patch from mile 95 to about mile 110. And I just kept feeding and feeding and feeding as much as possible. As a matter of fact, there is a video where I showed what I was packing for the day. And I actually, in my mind, thought, I'm going to come home with some of this stuff. It's 4,200 kilojoules the last time I did this ride. So let's just say 4,200 calories, rough estimate. 9 hours, I figured, okay, 9 hours times 300, that's 2,700 calories. But I've got 3,300. I'll come back with some of this. Heck no, I ate it all. So from between like 95, 90-ish to about 110, I was really suffering. I was having a really tough time. And fortunately, by that time, we had rejoined with Jess going southbound. You get a little bit of a tailwind push. And then, sharing the load with Barbara and Jess. And then we also ran into 2 other folks, and they helped a little bit as well, for about 10 or so miles. And that was good because I was really suffering. But eventually I came back, and that's one of the things that I wanted to share with you is in some of the comments in the videos, someone was like, oh, well, yeah, it's pretty basic what you've given us. What are the macros, or do you focus on macros? Hey, look, fueling yourself isn't all that complicated. You need carbs, you need electrolytes, and if you want to stave off some of the hunger, maybe you take in some protein. There's plenty of studies going one way or the other whether you should have protein. I like to have protein at rides or events that are longer than 4 hours. That's just what I like to do. I feel fine. My stomach doesn't bunch up. I digest just fine. I don't get gas. I don't get bloated. And, protein, taking in protein, they say, okay, it helps create carbs from the stuff you've eaten. So I like to take on protein when I'm riding. You do you. But some of the comments were, well, what do you, how do you focus this or that? Just get the calories in. The pros are trying to get in like 80 to 100 grams of carbs per hour. I think even more, but what I'm hearing is about 80 to 100 grams per hour, possibly more. And the guys that are taking on more than that, I think they have an edge because they're taking on more fuel than the next guy. And of course, this keeps the intensity high during these races. So let me just refer to my notes real quick. So one of the questions were, how do you take on that much fuel? Is that a learned skill? Is that, and I was like, I try to stay right at that point where I'm constantly guessing. Am I hungry? Am I a little hungry? And then I take on fuel. I don't wait until I am definitely hungry. Oh God, and you get the hunger pangs. You don't want that. It's too late now. You're going to have to slow down your intensity, take in the calories, wait for that to digest, and then you can pick up your speed again or your intensity, whatever. But I wait until I'm just like right on the edge. I'm questioning if I'm hungry, and then I eat, and then I don't eat till I'm stuffed. I just keep taking in calories. Little and often is what I want you to think to yourself. Little and often. Sips, sips, sips. So I had 2 bottles. Each one of those bottles had 700 calories. So that was 1,400 calories in just my bottles. But I had a bunch of pocket fuel. So I had the little sandwiches. I had some expired waffles and some expired chews. And so can't sell those to the public anymore, so I eat them now. But I didn't touch my bottles until I was 5 hours and 45 into the 8-hour ride. Okay. So basically I went 5 hours, 45 minutes without any intake of fluids. So people are like, well, how do you do these no rides with no nature breaks? If you're not drinking much, you don't have to go. So, it's pretty simple. But then the questions are also, well, why do you do them? Well, one, because they're harder that way, and I just like suffering more than the next guy. It's just what I've always done. The more you suffer in training, the easier your rides are going to be, your events are going to be. My rides have always been notoriously hard. My training rides, anything, whether I'm riding alone or I'm taking a crew of people with me. Hey, we're here to suffer. And we're not pulling over until I'm tired. We're not pulling over until I got to go to the bathroom, which is hardly ever, right? Or hungry or thirsty. But first person that starts whining about, oh, we need to stop to pee or whatever, well, or hungry or thirsty, well, you're buying, right? Those are kind of the unwritten rules on my rides. We're here to work and we're here to suffer. And the more you suffer mentally, the better and easier that event day or race day is going to go. The events I'm doing early part of the season, they're unsupported events. So the longer you keep the wheels rolling, the further down the course you're going to get. Okay, so that's important. Next thing. Someone was asking, how it was on my power meter analysis, and they were asking about, well, the trouble I have is let me paraphrase. The problem I have is pacing. So if it's windy or if I'm on a climb, my wattage goes like this and I get overtired. Well, that's what the power meter's for. So you're seeing your wattage spike, or you're going too hard and that you're going to pay for that later. Calm down, take it easy on a 15% grade. Just kind of get over it. Or if it's just a block headwind on your nose, take it easier during that section. If you're doing these long events, guess what? It's always going to loop back around. So maybe you're going to get a crosswind, maybe you're going to get a tailwind. So during the headwind part, unless you're really, really racing hard and you're trying to win and all that other stuff, I have this little saying that I teach people all the time when they come on my rides. Go hard when it's easy. Go easy when it's hard. What do I mean by that? Let's say we're on a climb and it's an 8% grade and it goes on for a mile or two. Okay, that's an opportunity to go easy, relatively speaking, easy when it's hard. Okay, easy when it's hard. So instead of seeing your power spike past your threshold, or your heart rate spike past your threshold, take it down a notch or two. But when you crest and you go down the other side, go hard when it's easy. Pedal. What most people do is they suffer, they're totally gassed, they come up over the top, then they drink, and then they're all in this misery in their head, and then they coast down the other side and they're sitting straight up, and not a good use of your energy. Use your energy, manage it, so that you are taking advantage of the terrain, you're taking advantage of the wind conditions, you're taking advantage of the other riders around you. If you've now been enveloped by...
It's 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock. If you've now been enveloped by a group of 5 riders, you've been out riding alone, you've just been caught by 5 or 6 riders, hey, it's time to do some work with them and let them, 3, 4, 5 guys, gals, take a pull. You don't have to sit out in front forever, okay? And then just rotate to the back, eat, drink, your turn comes up again, do the work that's required for, because now you're a team, right? The 4, 5, 6 of you are a team. So you work, and then you pull off, and then you recover on the back. So go hard when it's easy, go easy when it's hard. That's it for the weekend wrap. I've got data files from the 150 miler I did solo last year. It's funny because it's right about the same time. It was, February 26th and January 21. So February 26th of 22. If you'd like me to compare those two data files when I rode alone, 150 miles, or when I rode with the ladies this past Saturday for 150 miles. This power data, I've got the files for both. If you'd like to see that, comparing and contrasting the two rides, drop a comment down below. Tell me you'd like to see that. Also, I've got some industry news coming up, but I'm trying to work on bikes and I'm trying to do content for you folks. So please, if you find value in my content, please like and subscribe. Please share my content with other folks. It seems like we hit these plateaus and it's days upon days where I get like one sub and then another sub, and it's like, I see the analytics, so I know who's watching, and I can see the unsubscribed is usually twice as much as the subscribed base. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you so much for your time and your attention. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you up the road.